Right, so I'm gonna get straight into the video because there's a lot to cover with scaling to 25K a month. And in this slideshow, in this video, there's gonna be everything that you need to know about scaling your coaching, consultancy, or agency business to $25,000 a month. I'm gonna show you the exact 2 levers that I pulled to hit 25K a month within just 60 days of launching my brand new offer. So as you can see, this is how much I earned from Stripe. And then I also got this payment through my Monzo. Together that equates to about £18,000, which is $25,000 last month. So firstly, before I actually get into it, I want to discuss how hard is it, right? For coaches, I'd estimate a few percent, maybe less than 5% of actual coaches, consultants, and agency owners reach $25,000 per month, okay? And as a bit of comparison, you're probably more likely to find a 4-leaf clover, be struck by lightning over your lifetime, or get accepted into Harvard University. And so it's a difficult thing. You can't go into this video or into your business expecting to hit 25K a month within the next 30 days because it's very likely not going to happen. You need to put in the work. You need to make sure that you hold yourself 100% accountable to making this work. And you need to be prepared for it to have hard and difficult times that you're gonna have to overcome. But that's just part of the game, and it's why so little people actually get to the goal that they want. So how did I do it? But not just me. Kyle Campion, my client, hit £25,000 per month within the first 30 days of working with me. Ignace has scaled to £18,000 per month within the first 4 weeks of working with me as well. And Peter Gaffney signed £45,000 worth of clients within the first 30 days of working with me too. Remember, that's all pounds, so in dollars, the conversion's even higher. Okay, these people all put really good work in. They wanted to make it work. And there was 2 key levers that we all pulled to scale to $25,000 per month or more within the first 30 days. Number 1 was offer and pricing, okay? This is a lever that most people ignore. Most people just try and book more sales calls or close more clients, increase their conversion rate, get a better fulfillment out. And they are all super important metrics, but the easiest lever that you can pull to just make more money is improve your offer and therefore increase your price as well, okay? We all saw a jump in sales calls and revenue when we made this one change. And this was my calendar 1 week after making this change. You can see there's just loads and loads of sales calls booked in from the 20th of August all the way to the 2nd September, right? I was literally full on sales calls after making this change, okay? And the thing is, most people have a misconception that you need to have one offer to one ICP with one lead gen source, because it's what everyone has been told over the last 2 to 5 years within the info space, right? Everyone thinks you need to be super specific, have a really specific ICP, and then only give them one offer and shove that down their throat essentially. But this is what actually keeps most founders stuck, right? They have one offer to one ICP, and it means that they're restricted on who they can deliver to, who they can serve, who they can help, who they can make money from. Whereas a growing founder, someone that's always making more sales, making more money, they have one offer, but 2 deliverables to do different ICPs. Or more, maybe 3 deliverables, depending on how much capacity you have. And this is exactly what I did. I kept my offer the same, but opened up another deliverable. And what I mean by that is you're missing out on free money by not doing this. Quite literally, okay? Your done with you, if you're an agency, or your done for you service, likely follows the same process with every single client, every single time. You probably onboard them and optimize their offer, help them sort out their pricing, maybe get their Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube profiles optimized, then you get them on the content, then you get them on the... Whatever it is, I imagine that with all of your clients, you follow the same process 95% of the time. And you can productize this process, okay? I made an extra £5,600, which is about $7,500 USD, within the first 60 days of doing this. This is extra money that was basically free. I didn't have to do much work at all to make this money, okay? This is literally minimal work of just selling my processes that I was already delivering to my coaching and consulting clients, but then I just sold them the process to people who maybe couldn't afford my higher ticket service, okay? So how can you do it as well? Look at all of your current clients, map out the process that you took all of them through, build a resource on that process. You can use something like Notion to, say week 1, do this, week 2, do this, and then sell it at 25% of the price of your main service. So for me, right, my main service at the time cost £4,000. So I then productized my done with you service. I built out the process that I was taking all of my coaching clients through, turned it into a dashboard, and then anyone that couldn't afford my coaching or my consulting, I then said, okay, how about instead of working with me one-to-one for the next 12 weeks, you just get access to all my resources, all of my frameworks, and then you can go away and implement it yourself. But instead of it costing 4K, you just get 1K for all of that. Okay, so I charged £1,000. And then I added some optional extras, e.g. if you want a one-to-one call, it's an extra $250, you know, that kind of stuff. And then I just pitched it to all of my unqualified leads. And that just meant that I was making more money without having to do any more work, because I was just selling my dashboard, okay? And the real money maker, this is where the biggest change in revenue happened for me, was just increasing the price of my main service. Because I now had a lower ticket service I could sell to unqualified leads, I could now increase my prices and, you know, sort of deal with the drop in close rate, because I was still making the other little deals here and there. And the number one problem that most of you have when trying to increase your prices is literally just limiting beliefs, right? I used to think, is my service even going to be worth that much? What if everyone says no to the price that I pitch and then I lose out on all the leads? Am I even that good at sales to close at a higher price? And all of these beliefs literally just held me back, right? They stopped me from making more money, stopped me from making more revenue, and they stopped me from increasing my prices for nearly a year. But then I did it anyway. I thought, fuck it. I'm just going to increase my prices and see what happens. So I started jumping on sales calls, and every single time I closed someone, I'd go up £500 until I closed that, and then go up £500. Okay. And my close rate didn't dramatically drop, and I nearly 2x my revenue from the previous month. When I increased my prices to 4K, I literally 2x my revenue from the previous month. And everyone that said yes was an even higher quality client, okay? Because low prices attract lower quality clients. Because then you're literally just getting people to buy who just want to buy because it's cheap. And people who like cheap things are going to do cheap work. They're not going to be as committed because they haven't put as much on the line, etc., etc. It has a knock-on effect across your whole business by just changing the price. And so by changing the price, I made more money, attracted high quality clients, which meant I got better testimonials, better client case studies, and therefore even more clients. And it just had this huge upward spiral for me. Okay, so let's look at the math on this so you can understand it a little bit better. Let's say that your offer is $2.5K, right? And you have a 40% closing rate on average. If you're taking 20 calls per month with a 40% closing rate, you're making 20K revenue, okay? Now let's say that you do 5K offer, for example, right? You can do the same amount of work and you have a 20% closing rate. Let's say your closing rate drops in half, which I doubt it will, by the way, but let's just say worst case scenario, it drops in half. You now have a 20% closing rate, but you're selling your offer at 5K. You still make 20K revenue, but you have twice the amount of time that you did then before, because you only have half the clients, but you're still making the same amount of money. And that means you have leverage in other areas of your business. You can now make better content, do more DMs, increase your profile leverage, whatever it is, right? You can do way more when you're charging higher because you have more time and you still make the same amount of money for the same amount of work. So you need to break your limiting beliefs because they are literally holding you back from scaling your business and increasing your prices. I imagine that the reason most of you don't do this is literally just a fear that you're not good enough or a belief that you're not good enough to charge a higher price or deliver at a higher price. Get over it, do it anyway. I promise you, you will not see a change in revenue. In fact, you'll see an increase in revenue. Okay, so you might be thinking, but how do I even know what price to charge? Okay, and I get that. That's a good question. Okay, so this is an equation that I use to calculate my prices when I was starting out. And also, if my clients are unsure on what price to charge, I take them through this equation as well. The first thing that we want to figure out is the total amount of client slots you have available per week. So, first things first, work out how many hours do you want to be spending with your clients per week. Just to make it easy, let's say you want to spend 10 hours or no more than 10 hours every single week working with clients, right? And let's say that it takes 1 hour per client, right? You have 10 client slots. Each client has 1 hour each, right? That means you then have 10 slots per week, okay? Then divide your monthly revenue goal by the amount of client slots per week that you have. Let's say your monthly revenue goal is $20,000. You would then divide that by 10 because you have 10 client slots per week. Let's say you're doing weekly calls with the clients. You now know that you need to be charging 2K, for example. And that's a good starting point, okay? Use 2K as your starting point and you can then increase the price from there. The second lever that I pulled to scale to $25,000 per month within the first 90 days or first 60 days of launching was my lead gen strategy change, okay? Now, there's 3 main sources that all of my leads come from. Number 1 is LinkedIn content. Number 2 is LinkedIn DMs. And number 3 is YouTube videos, okay? This is where all of my leads come from, all of my sales calls, all of my clients. LinkedIn content was where I spent most of my time for the last year and a half. In fact, it was the only place I spent my time, other than LinkedIn DMs. LinkedIn content was the only type of content I had going out, okay? But first, I want to explain why your content isn't working at the minute and why I've now ditched my old LinkedIn content strategy. Trust is gone. Across the whole info space, trust is gone with every single coach, consultant, and agency owner, or for most of them, right? Because everyone's pitching the same offers, the same guarantees. There's been people that have been scammed. There's been scammers that are selling courses or taking your money and not even giving you anything. And so trust is at an all-time low, right? We need to work around that because as well, right? AI can create knowledgeable content. I could create a post on how to optimize your offer and put it on LinkedIn, but but AI could write the same post because AI knows how to create a good offer now. Everyone's been burned by someone. And the last one is people don't like being sold to. They don't like the idea of someone always trying to pitch them. So a really good example of someone who goes against all of these rules is Alex Hormozi. He doesn't have anywhere on his Instagram profile saying, book a sales call with me, go and buy my course here, blah, blah, blah. He's just someone who's constantly providing value. And if you want to, go and sign up or get his book here, right? It's not pitchy, it's not salesy, it's not shoving it down your throat. It's just there if you want it. And by doing that, he nurtures people so well through his content because we know that he enjoys going to the gym. We know that he values his relationship with his wife, Layla. We know he had struggles when starting his business. We know that he doesn't shove sales down our throat. And these are all things we can relate to. Okay, and the reason that this works for him is because not only does he post the really super valuable content about how to scale up a business, how to build offers, how to optimize your lead generation, etc., and positions himself as an expert, he also positions himself as a human, as a friend, because we can relate to going to the gym. A lot of us business owners go to the gym. We can relate to wanting to have a really good relationship with our partner because a lot of us want to provide for our partners and loved ones, etc. We can relate to having struggles when starting out in business because we too are going through struggles. And all of these things, build trust because now we're like, okay, cool. This guy is actually a relatable person that we can relate to. But also we see him as an expert because he gives away a ton of free value and stuff that we can actually learn from, okay? And that is what builds trust. And we need to do the same thing. So my old LinkedIn content strategy completely went against this. I only had 3 types of content. Top of funnel, which was addressing misconceptions, showing people what they're all doing wrong. I had middle of funnel, which is giving people step-by-steps and processes to solve their problems. And bottom of funnel to show case studies and testimonials. And my content was super valuable, right? People could literally read it, go away and learn how to do LinkedIn DMs, or go away and learn how to do LinkedIn content. And that built trust in the fact that it positioned me as an expert. But it didn't benefit me that much because this doesn't work anymore, right? Look at this graph or this circle chart here. I don't know what to call it, right? This is where most people put themselves in, okay? They either put themselves in one of these 2 buckets here. They either position themselves as too much of an expert, which is where I was, 1 year ago. I was putting out loads of free value. I was teaching people everything. I was giving away all of my knowledge. I was giving away as much information as possible. And this led to a lot of leads. I had a load of followers and profile views and likes and comments. But I didn't have many sales because everyone then tried to implement all of my tips that I was giving away for free. They try it and a lot of them would succeed because my tips were actually good. But these days, you also get a lot of people who position themselves too much as just a friend, right? They post too much personal content. They connect to people really well. They get loads of likes, they build rapport, but they talk too much about their friends, about their family, about their personal life, about their struggles. And this again leads to high engagement. You get a lot of people following you as like a cult almost. But you don't get many leads because people don't really know what they can get from you in terms of value. The middle ground that we want to find is this one here, where we have a mix of expert content and friend content. We have a mix of teaching people and connecting with people. We have a mix of giving away our knowledge and getting people to like us. We have a mix of giving away our information and building rapport. And this middle ground is guiding people, leading people to the solution, building trust, building belief that we can solve their problem. This is the type of content that you should be posting. A mix of the expert and the friend content. Okay, so here's what I'm doing instead to achieve that. 40% of my content that's going out on LinkedIn and YouTube is going to be teaching people things, showing my unique mechanism, showing people step-by-steps and processes. The other 40% is going to be sharing personal content, the struggles I've had in business, why I work so hard, what I did at the weekend, my hobbies about cars and the gym, etc. 20% of my content is going to be showing, where I show case studies, client testimonials, social proof. And then every now and then I'm going to do what I call a give post, okay? I might give away a lead magnet. I might give away an opportunity to work with me before I increase my prices. These are very random and infrequent, but if I feel the need to do it, every now and then I will. But this is 99% of what my content is going to be. Teaching people what I know, sharing more things about me to build trust, and showing people that my process, my services actually work. Here's an example of a share post, right? I'm just talking about what I enjoy. I'm just a guy from Essex who happens to like business. I talk about my hobbies, my struggles, my story. And then this is a teach post talking about how I hired a setter to run my DMs and book me 20 plus sales calls per month on autopilot. Okay, you can find these on my LinkedIn. Second way that I generate leads at the minute is LinkedIn DMs, okay? The problem with most of you is that your standards are just way too low. Simple as, don't expect to send 50 DMs for 1 week and then have 5 sales calls booked. It's a process that requires testing, okay? You can't expect to just install all of my I can give you all the outreach frameworks. I can show you how to open conversations, how to find your ICP, how to manage a conversation. But I'm not going to know the intricate details about your ICP. I'm not going to know their exact pains, their fears, their desires. And so together we need to test that, right? Some of my top performing clients, Peter Gaffney, who I mentioned earlier, done 60K in 30 days. Chris Tran done 20K in 30 days. Emery done 15K plus in 30 days. Ignace, 2x his revenue to making £18,000 within 3 weeks. Quinton added 10K MRR in 90 days, right? These are all some of my top performing clients from recent, and they all sent 80 to 100 DMs every single week for over 12 weeks. And by the end of the 12 weeks, they had a system that worked super well, and it was consistent and it was predictable, but it took them a few weeks to get there. They didn't expect to, send DMs 1 week and have loads of sales calls, because that's just not how business works. You need to test things, you need to refine things, you need to make sure that the system is actually working, not just based on luck. So there's 5 crucial KPIs that I track and that you need to be tracking as well if you want your LinkedIn DMs to work. Number 1, qualified ICP coming in every single day. I aim for 10 to 30. And the way that I do this is I've built a sales navigator list of all of my ICP. And then every single day, I get my appointment setter to connect with them ICPs so that I can add 10 to 30 people to my network every single day. Number 2, qualified ICP reach outs every single day. You want to be aiming to reach out to at least 20 people every single day, which on average is 100 per week. Now, I actually prefer to do my 100 reach outs towards the beginning of the week, so I'll do 50 on a Monday, or my appointment set will do 50 on a Monday, 50 on a Tuesday. That way we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to follow people up, manage the conversations, get them on a sales call and close them. So you want to be aiming for 20 DMs a day or 100 DMs a week. Your convo to booking percentage rate should be at least 5%. This is actually quite low. I actually aim for higher, but for example, if you're sending 100 DMs a week, you want to be booking at least 5 sales calls, okay? Again, I aim for higher than that, but this is minimum standards. 4, your show up rate should be at least 90%. If you're getting less than 90% show up rate, you're either not setting the right intentions in your DMs, people don't trust you enough, or there's something wrong with your booking page, okay? And so you need to be aiming for a 90% show up rate. And then lastly, your close rate should be at least 40%. If it's lower than that, there's either a problem with your middle of funnel content, and therefore people don't trust you enough as an expert, or they don't trust your mechanisms enough or your case studies. And so you need to fix that, or you're terrible at sales. Either one of those things need to be fixed. You should be aiming for a 40% close rate minimum. And you can track all of this in a scorecard every single week to make sure you're hitting that. And the other good thing about a scorecard is you can then look at it and say, right, if I send 100 DMs, on average I get 10 sales calls. That means if I want to get 10 sales calls next week, I just need to send 100 DMs. And this is what makes it a predictable and repeatable sales/lead gen system, okay? So if you want my template for a scorecard that you can then fill in every single week and track your data, message me on LinkedIn, say, hey, I just watched a YouTube video, do you mind sending your scorecard, something like that, and I'll send it over. And all of this alone will get you clients. You could do LinkedIn content, you could do LinkedIn DMs, and it will get you clients, but you'll still hear the same objections on sales calls every single week, okay? Maybe I don't have enough money, or I need to think about it, or I'm not sure if your system's actually going to work for me. Whatever it is, you'll still hear the same objections. This is where YouTube comes in. Okay, this has been basically a steroid for my LinkedIn lead gen system, right? Look at this graph here that I've built to show how LinkedIn and YouTube can work very well in harmony. When you post one LinkedIn post, you get a ton of visibility, right? You can get 5,000, 10,000 impressions. But the time that a viewer actually spends with you throughout their LinkedIn post is minimal. They might read it for 30 seconds and scroll and then forget about you. And therefore, the trust built is also very low. But one YouTube video has a much lower visibility, right? You might only get 100, 200, maybe 1,000 views, but it's a lot lower than LinkedIn. But the time that each viewer is spending with you is often a lot higher. It can be 3 to 20 to maybe even 40 minutes, maybe even an hour. And therefore, the trust that's built throughout that time spent with you is huge. And the good thing about a YouTube video as well is I'm talking to you right now, okay? You can hear my tone, you can see my body language, and that builds trust as well because we're humans. You can't build that trust through a text-based post on LinkedIn. And together, LinkedIn and YouTube are a killer lead gen method because you get the visibility of LinkedIn and YouTube, but you get the time spent and the trust built with YouTube. And so together, you get this huge lead gen system where you're driving loads of people to your name and your profile on LinkedIn. And then if you drive them people to YouTube, you get the time spent, you get the trust built. And that is what has changed my lead gen system massively. Just adding YouTube into my ecosystem. This is what my ecosystem, or funnel, if you want to call it that, looks like. LinkedIn to YouTube to sales call. So I post a LinkedIn post and this creates visibility and some trust. It gets people to know my name, know who I am, see my content. I then have a link above all of my LinkedIn posts that says visit my website. That drives people to my YouTube channel, which is obviously what you're on now. Okay, and you probably came from my LinkedIn. People then watch my YouTube videos, and this builds a ton of trust and pre-handles objections. One of the objections I used to get a lot was, I am not sure on how your mechanism works, so I need to do some research into it. So I built a video that shows how my mechanism works. Another one was trust. People were like, I'm not really sure if you can get me results. So I built a case study video, and I will do more case study videos. Another one was mindset issues. People weren't ready to commit. So I built a video which was kind of a day in the life or a vlog, but then halfway through that video, I spoke about mindset for 5 to 10 minutes. And both of these paired together means I have more sales calls with a higher close rate. It's killed it for my lead gen. So my point across all of this is that if you do what everyone else is doing, you'll always only ever be one step behind them. And if you only ever just post LinkedIn content and only just send LinkedIn DMs, you're always gonna be one step behind. You need to use this ecosystem to your advantage. You need to be, compounding your LinkedIn visibility with your YouTube trust. And them things together are gonna kill it for your lead gen, kill it for your sales. And it's changed the game for me. So as a quick recap, make sure that you have one offer, but with 2 or 3 deliverables. You can serve different clients depending on how much they wanna spend, how much time they wanna commit with you, okay? Don't shove one offer down their throat. Number 2, increase your prices. Regardless of if you believe that you can increase your prices or not, do it. It will increase your revenue. You might see a slight drop in close rate, but you'll see an increase in revenue, okay? And then thirdly, pair your LinkedIn content and LinkedIn DMs with your YouTube videos. It will change the game for your lead gen and your sales. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot from it. If you want help scaling up your coaching, consultant, or agency business to 25K plus per month, every single month, then send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll go back and forth with you, ask you a few questions. And if I think you're a good fit, I'll offer you a call to see if we can work together. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.